Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men's Sexual Mastery Podcast. I am so honored to be joined here today by my new co-founder, partner in this mission, Ian Hawks, my dear brother. Thank you so much for coming into the podcast. I'm so excited, bro, for everything that's ahead. I know we introduced you in the last podcast, but it was over Zoom. We've been here in person this week, recreating the new course, bringing in all your codes, merging it with the existing codes I brought through, all of our different teachers and lineages, just meshing up into this potent process and this course that I have no doubt is going to be, there's nothing that's ever been created to this caliber. Like, it is insane what's coming through.
It's so good.
So, yeah, brother, welcome to the show. So honored, man, to have you here with me in this process and with you in the journey, leading the brothers to the highest good. Let's go.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank you to the listeners, anyone tuning in. As Ben was saying, it's been a powerful co-creative week that we've spent here together. So much fun and so expansive putting this course together with you. And as you were saying, it's really, really good. I feel so good about what we're bringing through and so excited to share it with the world. And let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's go in. Let's go in. This is just, we just wanted to capture the end of this week together. We're up in British Columbia here. I flew up here to drop into this creative container, this portal that we've been in. And yeah, would love to share with the listeners a little sneak peek of what's coming in this upcoming course. So why don't you want to kick us off with this in the first module? So there's going to be these 8-week training programs. Are going to have an intro and an outro where we're going to be syncing up with the brotherhood, which again, as many of you know, this is one of the core parts of what sets our training apart is community. Yeah. This brotherhood is daily one-on-one accountability with every brother. It's not, we're about to drop more of the codes, and if you've been following this podcast, you're aware of some of these, but we're going to give it in kind of a broader outline. But it is true, and I'm sure, Hawks, I'd love to hear what you think on this, like the daily accountability and actually embodying these practices. And again, we've simplified things down. We've distilled it to like the most potent, just minimalist tools to get guys in the practice so that they can experience the transformation, experience the full body orgasms. So yeah, that's a really crucial part of this journey. So do you want to say anything on that, Hawks?
Ooh, lots. Well, as you were saying, there's this accountability aspect in our group trainings and the one-on-one work that we both do that is so fundamental to really shifting patterns. We're all operating from patterns that some of us have been carrying from early on in life that we didn't choose. And many of us have chose new patterns or are in the process of choosing new patterns. And what it really takes to create new patterns in our life that will then lead to the big transformational shifts that occur over long periods of time of commitment and consistency. These patterns need to be activated every single day. And our daily accountability is the most potent way that I've experienced and that I'm aware of for really providing the support to ensure that these new patterns of transformation really happen. And we can dive into the course. We could give a little overview of the modules, starting with module 1, foundations.
Yeah, totally. And just to close the loop really quick on just the brotherhood and the accountability. This is the reason it's worth mentioning out the gate is just because most of us are in information overload. And so what we're about to go into is more information. And the course is a lot of information, but information that is not embodied is useless. And there is so much mental masturbation that can happen in this. So that's just a little disclaimer, or not even a disclaimer, like an asterisk that's like, this is the secret ingredient to you experiencing it firsthand. And our objective is to eliminate ourselves as soon as possible, to give you all the tools and you the embodiment for you to just know in your somatic felt sense what this energy feels like. So yes,
Yeah.
all that being said, let's dive in. So the intro, we just start out covering some of the basics around, and many of you listening to this are aware of a lot of this stuff, but many of us had zero sex education. We watch porn, and as we've said many times, like, porn is just a sliver of what we are capable of experiencing sexually as men. This is what we're realizing with a lot of the sex tech from these ancient technologies coming online from Taoism and Tantra and our own lived experience. And so this course is an opportunity to expand your neural networks of pleasure, to rewire your nervous system from the ejaculatory sympathetic nervous system response into the parasympathetic full body state, to move this energy within you and to connect more deeply with your partner. So that's what we cover a little bit of in the intro. We introduce semen intention and the power of your semen and as your life force, as your creator God energy. There's nothing more creator-like that we can do that we carry within us than this fluid that can literally be used to create another replica of us, another human being, to create life. And as we learn how to harness it and hold on to it, there are all these amazing effects of semen. We call it semen intention, not semen retention. Learning to circulate this energy. It's one of the core foundations. If you're just starting out, we recommend this right out the gate. Just start hanging on to your semen and see what happens. So, with that, we move into module 1. If you want to take that one.
Big divine energy, BDE. This is our reclamation of BDE, but really embodied into the highest self, and the highest aspects of our expression of confidence, of purpose, of showing up in the world as the man we came here to be. And there's a lot to get into with that, but I actually feel like
one thing I'd love to throw in on that is, the BDE is it's the foundations module.
Yes.
And so, like, us reaching non-ejaculatory states of orgasm is the byproduct of the accumulation of energy we talk about, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if the masculine is a cup and the feminine is the water, the sexual energy is the water, and the byproduct, the ejaculatory or non-ejaculatory orgasm is the water overflowing. What we need to do is figure out how to allow our cups to fill up with this energy.
Yeah.
And for most of us, we are unknowingly draining it all the time when we're ejaculating.
Yeah.
All these ways we're leaking energy. So this module is really about, and there is so much here we won't dive too into, but it's about creating a strong container, patching leaks, and creating the integrity of a system that can actually handle the energy, because we can generate all the energy we want. We can be practicing holding our semen, circulating it, but if we're just leaking it everywhere, it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually accumulate at all. So.
Yeah. And these leaks, as you mentioned, can show up as unconscious ejaculatory releases, and they also show up in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Whether it's unconscious habitual use of technology or distractions and fidgeting. We'll go into the details of this and how to help you identify, and also how to help you reclaim that energy and plug these leaks, as Ben has been speaking to in this module. And so that's a little bit about the foundations that we get into. This is also where we introduce accountability and the understanding of coherence with ourself, where our words are aligned with our actions. And this is really huge. And love to move on to module 2 now and just
we can't
leave
get
that
too deep
as a sprinkle.
and also this is just unscripted. We just popped on the camera, like, let's pop in a podcast here. So we're just giving you guys some little sprinkles of this stuff. Module 2 is let me sit with it 1 second. I got it. Man, my mind has been swimming this whole week. Transmutation. Yeah. So this is like the essential toolkit, like the Swiss Army knife. This is what I mentioned earlier, like the most potent distilled practices, of which there are hundreds. And this was my biggest issue studying with Montauk Chia. And shout out to Montauk Chia, and shout out to a lot of my teachers, Jonathan White and many others. I always found that it's like going into an ice cream shop and there's like too many flavors. Like, you're teaching all these different things. Like, how does this go together in a step-by-step way, or what should I focus on? Or yeah, it can feel a little overwhelming if you just started YouTubing, which many of you maybe have. Maybe that's why you ended up here. How to achieve these non-ejaculatory states, how to rewire your sexuality. There's a lot out there, and this is basically our core toolkit presented in a very systematic way that is something you can practice every day within the structure of accountability, within the structure of daily, what we call discipline practices, and you can make commitments to, and it's modular. So we're stacking different practices.
Yeah. This is a really clear step-by-step process that we're providing, which, as Ben was mentioning, is something unique, because we do live in a world of abundant information. But if that information isn't embodied, and if we don't have a clear path to follow, that information can be overwhelming. You could read all the books in the world, but if you don't actually put those practices and that knowledge into work, it's not really knowledge. It's just information. So I want to just mention that this step-by-step process that we guide the men through in the transmutation module starts with activation, goes into cultivation, then goes into integration and transmutation. And within each of these steps are practices and clear instructions of the most potent technologies that we have found in our journeys and that we believe are out there as something that is accessible to all men. And this could be your first time working with these practices, could be first time really intentionally holding your seed and learning to circulate it, or you could have already been working with semen intention or semen retention or no FAP or your own form of intentional sexuality. And this module in this course is still going to be incredibly valuable for you, because there is the opportunity to go as deep as you want. And with these teachings, there's something new gained each time we go through them. We're only really receiving what we're ready to receive at the time that we read something or hear something or go through a training or a course. And as a little side note, our courses are available for a full year. When you subscribe, when you join the program, you can go back through these modules as many times as you like throughout the year. And there will always be more to be learned and embodied further. So,
and another side note to that is there's a brotherhood that's a circle that meets every week. There's going to end up being multiple of these. That if you stay within the community, you also maintain access. So that 1 year can continue to be extended as long as you're showing up in the community. So and I'm glad you mentioned all that, Hawks. That was totally on point. And for us, this is really just a recipe. Like if we're all chefs and there's all these ways of cooking things, when we said earlier that this is the most potent transmission of this work that's ever come into existence to date that we've been aware of, this is what I wish I'd found like 5-6 years ago when I first really started getting into this. This recipe is unique and is very specific and is like it just goes so deep so quick. So anyway, that's just the last piece I wanted to share on that. Like this module is one of my favorites because that's when we're starting to get really deep into experiencing these things firsthand.
The tools and the practices that allow men to experience this energy and what is possible when we're intentional and informed with the use of this energy. So it's a really potent start to the course with BDE and transmutation, and then in module 3 we go into regulation. And this is part of what makes this course so comprehensive, and the later modules even more so. We are looking at the big picture of all of the different pieces of what it takes to become a master of your sexual energy, and not just a master of your own sexual energy, but masterfully conducting sexual energy in the space with your partner, who you're relating with, and how you carry yourself in the world. And regulation, this module 3, is so applicable to absolutely everything in the world.
Every area of your life.
It's a lot about the regulation is about nervous system regulation. And we go deep into the breath, how the breath influences our nervous system, functional breathing, dysfunctional breathing. Everything that we feel is the most important information to share and practices for the brothers in our programs to understand, while also trimming away as much as we can of the fluff and of the unnecessary stuff, so that we're just giving you what you need to really live and breathe and experience your nervous system regulation in a new and powerful way.
Yeah, because the nature of sexual energy, you know, as we share is, and this is from traditional Chinese medicine, the nature of sexual energy is such that it binds and amplifies whatever is present. So as you start experiencing holding your seed and building your energy with these practices, it's just turning up the volume knob inside. And there can be all sorts of things that come up in that, and sheddings and processes, and also orgasmic, explosive, pleasurable practices and or experiences. And the regulation is what helps us move through all those spaces and allow that process to unfold, and basically allow that our new system to adapt to like holding basically more energy and to soften and relax into it, because our natural autonomic nervous system response, or not our natural, our programmed autonomic nervous system response is this ejaculatory contractive response. It's clamping down on the energy.
Buildup of tension and activation of the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight, heart rate increases, breath rate increases, and this tension builds to then eventually spill over into the release of ejaculation. And in order to become a multi-orgasmic man, in order to experience the phenomena of non-ejaculatory full body orgasms, which any man is capable of experiencing, it requires our nervous system to stay down regulated, to remain in a parasympathetic state while we build arousal.
Yeah, this module really, you know, drives that down deep. There's a lot of pelvic floor stuff as well in this module. There's stuff with the introduction to, you know, like the edging practices that we've curated. That is part.
Is that in regulation?
Yeah, we're still in like processing. We've been moving things around, but because that is deeply tied to this. And the pelvic floor. There's a little brief stuff in prostate work. All of that is like, it's rewiring the autonomic response, right? So that's module 3.
Module 4, optimization.
Yeah, and this one we can just touch on pretty briefly, but it's because there's another deep dive here. You want to mention some of the stuff that's in there?
Optimization is about building our body, our physical body, to a place where we can hold more energy. It's about building vitality in our whole system, because this is, you know, my partner, she's a pelvic floor therapist and a naturopathic doctor, and she sees many clients who have sexual challenges, women and men. And one thing that she has always spoken to, and which is, it's part of what fuels her purpose in bringing health and vitality to the world, is that if our health and our vitality is compromised, it inherently bleeds into our sexual function and our sexual life experience. So this module 4 on optimization is about looking at the foundations of diet, nutrition, hydration, lifestyle, sleep, all of these aspects of our day-to-day life that are so woven into and that are so woven into our sexuality, and our sexuality is dependent and massively influenced by our health and our lifestyle and our nutrition. And so this is our deep dive in a succinct way of what we feel are the most important things to speak to in this. And it could be a whole course on its own. And we've done our best effort to distill it into something really potent, really applicable, and to give the whys, the practical whys of how all of these pieces of our lifestyle and nutrition and hydration directly apply to our sexuality. And even speaking into specifics, if you're experiencing a specific challenge in your sexual function, how we can optimize our lifestyle and our health to mitigate that and to improve that.
Okay, bro. Well said.
Thank you.
Module 5 is attunement. So this is where we start to move, you know, with this foundation of our whole system really being able to hold and move sexual energy. And if you're in partnership, that's great. But actually, it's even more ideal if you're a lot of this beginning work. We have to start within ourselves. We have to know how to lead ourselves and regulate ourselves and get in contact with these deeper levels of pleasure and these new neural pathways in ourselves before we bring it really in its fullness to relationship. You know, and yes, it can happen simultaneously in relationship, but it is, in my experience, even better, you know, when brothers are single. And in attunement, we're moving all this energy, we're starting to move it outwards into partnership. And this can include, even if you're dating, even if you're not in an active partnership, the attunement piece is all about, connecting and bringing this loving energy, which like I'm feeling my fingertips move again when I'm feeling this energy of like penetrating the world. Once we've been building this energy and learning how to transmute it and moving this mojo into our energy, you know, into our state of being, we learn how to create what we call the sexual simmer, which is a way of interacting with the world, and especially in partnership, that's like the art of really leading through listening, is what we say.
And being the fire keepers of our intimate relationships. This is keeping that sexual simmer alive, means feeding the fire, not just when you desire to have sex, but throughout the day. And we also speak to the nuances between the feminine and the masculine in how it relates to our sexuality and our sexual arousal. So this module, all of our modules, this whole training program is perfect if you're single, and it's also amazing if you're in partnership. All of these tools, all of these practices are applicable whether you're in a relationship or not. And with attunement and our next module, polarization or amplification, calling it, there are some real world, really potent applications to bring these technologies, bring this embodiment in these tools and education into your relating with the feminine. And if you're not in partnership, that feminine is still within us, right? We are all holding the masculine and the feminine within us. Some of us are more dominant masculine, some of us are more dominant feminine. Usually that looks like a man is more dominant masculine, woman is more dominant feminine, but we all have both polarities within us. And those rules, those are not rules, they're generalizations, and there are always exceptions. But yeah, this module attunement is, if I could sum it up in one line, it's presence over performance.
When we're entering sexual spaces without an objective of porn reenactment, of trying to achieve an ejaculatory orgasm, that in itself shifts the whole dynamic. It's that presence over performance piece, you know? And one other thing that's worth mentioning in this module is that we go in a deep dive into a lot of the anatomy pieces, you know, specifically with the feminine and the different gates of orgasm and the different way, you know, the actual magic, the mechanics. But that's also coming from a place of understanding that she needs to be warmed up, you know, like in deep, deep ways, and she needs to trust you, and we need to be in coherence. There's all these building blocks that have led to this module. We're not just going to, you know, and you can Google or YouTube this stuff, like the, you know, different types of orgasm, how to lead women into them. But unless you're a man that actually can hold the level of presence, if you're trying to be a magician, like 1 + 2 = 3, it's not like that. The feminine is the ultimate scrambler of our own processes and pushing us into deeper and deeper presence. And that's actually what the currency of love is, and of reaching these states. It requires our absolute presence. So
this is one of the most foundational qualities of being a man, as I see it. It's our ability to be present. Really present, which means deeply listening, not just to the words, but to the body language, and the space between the words. And from this place of deep listening and presence, that is where we lead. It's leading not through domination, but through devotion.
and I love just the whole shift in our energy just now. Like, and for anyone listening, like we just threw up the camera. This is the end of the day. On our last day, we've been like pushing, grinding. We've been very in our active mind, and you may even feel this up until this second, and just sensing this, like we're attuning right now into like, slowing it down. And I love, this is a beautiful process to even capture, slowing down, breathing deep. And this is, again, like what all of this work is for.
Mm-hmm. And the modules before this one, attunement, give us the tools and the understanding and the practices so that when we say be present, it's not just, the fuck does that mean? It's like, oh yeah, I know what to do. Already learned and practiced and been held accountable to the entrainment of these tools. So it actually becomes embodied. It becomes a natural state of being rather than an act or a performance or a trying or a forcing. And that's what this is about. This is embodiment. It's when we are actually naturally operating from the programs and the patterns that our higher self is calling us into.
Yeah, this is where where the rubber meets the road. It's like we're doing all this practice, kind of like practicing for a basketball game, and then actually playing the game. We're just like doing those reps every single day. Like we talk about in our training program, there's working out and there's working in. And these practices are energetic martial arts, really, truly. It's putting those reps in till you get to that point, like you said, where it's just it's rewired, it's automatic. We're rewiring all of our responses so that we're staying more present, we're more in our breath, we're more in our body, embodiment in the body, and we are feeling much more deeply from this space, which requires this work, which requires the reps, which is, again, coming back to the accountability and the brotherhood, and the reason why, you could just consume all this information, but actually the embodiment is what's going to get you there. So this attunement piece is kind of like the bringing all those drills to the court, and like, all right, we're meeting in it, let's go. And like the nuances and the subtleties of the different dynamics once you're bringing it into partnership.
Yeah. I got one last thing I want to speak to this, and then I'm good with moving on to module 6 if you are. Presence in this module of attunement, we're bringing a lot in. And speaking just to that one point about presence, to be really present in making love, what we've already built up in our systems and in our capacity throughout the training prior to this module is what allows us to actually be in the orgasmic state, so full of pleasure in every present moment, especially during lovemaking, that it becomes exactly where we want to be. And there's nowhere else to go, and there's no end goal, because it just doesn't get any better than right here, right now. And that is available to us as men in lovemaking. This is such a pleasurable, fulfilling, expansive experience when we learn how to cultivate and become, like, turn online to the non-ejaculatory orgasmic states of bliss that are available to us as men. There truly is nowhere else to go. And for a woman in sexual relationship with a man who's in that state of being and in that experience, it allows her to become fully present and also experience that. And it allows her to trust and soften and open and surrender in ways that just aren't possible if we're fixated on an end goal, or if our mind is wandering and we're fantasizing or imagining someone else there, or thinking about work or some other responsibilities.
Or we're being performative, and we're just like, oh wait, this isn't working.
Trying
this.
Trying to enact something we saw in porn or something like that. It's about being present.
And it's about actually surrendering the mind and even like any sort of preconceptions or plans of what I'm going to do in the space. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to touch her this way. But it's not that. It's actually going so deep into this nervous system regulation, to this reprogramming, that we're literally moving and we're coming from the emptiness. We're not trying to fill the void, as you've said before.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming from the void, and it's about her. It's not about us and what we're going to get out of this or how we're going to perform. It's about this leading through listening, which is, again, attunement. This art.
Yeah.
So with that, module 6, which is the final module, is amplification, where we basically take everything we're talking about and turn up the volume knob even more. We talk a lot about the analogy of the magnets. This is always my favorite intro to polarity. If you have two magnets and the poles, if you have little stick magnets, positive pole to positive pole, they'll push away, right? Negative pole, if you flip it though, and you have a negative and a positive, they're attracting each other. So in relationship, if you have a masculine woman and a masculine man, they're going to be repelled all the time. But if you can actually, or if you have a feminine woman and a feminine man, so like actually role playing, finding your dominant pole, which may be feminine if you're a man, maybe masculine if you're a woman, or any of these dynamics. These are just principles of energy. But what we're teaching in this program is for masculine pole men who want to lead the relationship. So when you fully integrated this BDE, as we call it, this big divine energy, you got these tools. You know how to lead yourself in your own internal state, and by extension lead your partner. You know how to dive deep into these states of pleasure, and by extension you know how to get into your partner's pleasure. Mm-hmm. As within, so without. As we step into this leadership, she can start to flip her pole to the feminine pole and start to trust more, and we can start to actually play with these dynamics, where the more that we go into our positive masculine pole, the more the amplification of energy comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Speaking of,
hey, speaking of the feminine, woo! Aspen's in the house.
We're gonna leave it at that for amplification. There's a lot there, but there are so many aspects to polarity that, once really understood, can completely resolve fundamental challenges and dysfunctions in relationships. And this is something that my partner Aspen and I.
You want to jump in here?
Just
come on in here. Everybody meet Aspen.
Thank you, baby.
You want to talk about polarity, Aspen? You got any thoughts on that? Wait, we got to give her a mic.
Let's say for now is that the polarity work that we've done has definitely enhanced our attraction and dynamic with each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically what module 6 is. Module 6 is all about, is this right here. And I almost want to leave that as kind of like the mystery bag, because there's some really juicy stuff in there that's like, it's just better left mysterious. So that's module 6, and then we end with like a outro. If you're in the 8-week training, we'll be closing it with like a beautiful ending with the brothers and the brotherhood, and then there are opportunities to continue staying in accountability with your partners you have through the training program. You can run well beyond the program itself, and there are weekly meetups, circles every week. So the journey continues as we go deeper. But in these 8 weeks, I have no doubt, like any brother and the brothers who are already coming in, who are already signed up, it's going to be a massive fucking blast off and a massive upgrade from what we already have at Men's Sexual Mastery to have this new course.
Yeah.
Super excited.
So I'm so excited about this. It's so good. We've been in the lab building and just feeling and fine tuning and tweaking and finding this balance of how can we provide the most value and still allow it to be really succinct and manageable for men who we know have full lives, jobs, and kids and communities, and a lot to attend to. And so this is our great honor to bring through a distillation and a refinement that has so much depth and application, and all of the tools and technologies that are required to level up your sexuality in ways that most of us didn't even know was possible. I know I didn't until I discovered it.
I
And
didn't.
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, inviting you in if you feel called to come learn a new way. It will transform your life. It has transformed mine. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Anything you'd
For all
like
the
to
partners
add?
out there, you guys have been working so hard on this, and I'm so thrilled. This work is so needed in the world. Whenever I talk to women, this is it. This is work that's going to bring men and women closer together, improve connection, improve consciousness, and really, really stoked that you guys are putting this out in the world.
Yeah, I appreciate you off script, just like coming on in here and being a part of this, because this has all been totally unscripted. We're just throwing it together, but an intimate moment.
About to head up to the beautiful hills of the Okanagan Valley here and have a fire, a little ceremony to draw a closure and completion in a good way to our time together. Ben's heading back to Austin, Texas tomorrow. I'm going to continue to hold it down here in British Columbia, Canada. This is a cross-border endeavor, and we are calling in brothers from Canada, from the United States, from Mexico, from Europe, from Australia,
all over the world.
You're welcome here.
All of you.
And we're ready. We're ready to serve, and we're so excited about it.
Hawks is going to be coming down to Austin on May 9th and joining myself and JP for the immersion. For those of you who are coming to that, we have talks about holding an immersion here in Kelowna.
Yeah, July.
And we got one in Toronto in October.
October 11th in Toronto.
10-11 in
check
Toronto.
us out.
And also just one last piece, with Aspen too. It's I'm really excited at the future potential. I know it's been spoken of you and Hawks also potentially bringing through another course in the future or workshops within the community, especially as we expand perhaps more into programs for women and some of these bigger spaces. Because I know you and Hawks have a lot that you have already offered in these couples tantric workshops. So I'm also excited to have you as part of our community at MSM.
Absolutely.
So grateful.
I want to give an invite if anyone's an obstacle is their wife or partner is skeptical of this work. I'm an open book. You can set up a call with me if she's curious. I'm happy to talk about how it's transformed our relationship and the transformation I've seen in you and the potential of it all. So
how can people find you, Aspen, on Instagram?
My Instagram is dr.Aspen Percival. So Dr. Aspen Percival. I'm a naturopathic doctor.
Awesome.
And so much more. Thank you, baby. Appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you for dropping in with us, Aspen. Thank you, my brother, for hosting me this entire week. Thank you for all those tuning in, for just capturing a little glimpse of what we've been creating here this past week. If you're interested in joining one of our training programs, you know where to check us out, mensexualmastery.com. Hit us up on Instagram. Like and subscribe to this podcast and this channel for any more updates, and pass it along to any friends. And we hope to see you soon. Send a big love your way in your healing journey.
Yeah, it's an honor to walk this path with you.
All right, love y'all. Peace.